Trustee Calandrello.
Here.
Trustee Healy.
Here.
Trustee Katsinas.
Here.
Trustee Malani.
Here.
Mayor Pico.
Here.
Please rise for pledge. I pledge allegiance
To the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Approval of June 15, 2020 regular meeting minutes.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the minutes of the Board of Trustee meeting of June 15th, 2020.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Any questions?
Is your mic on?
It is on.
Yes.
Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello. Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
In search of a cure raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve issuing a raffle license to In Search of a Cure to sell raffle tickets during their annual golf outing on Thursday, July 30th, 2020 at Silver Lake Country Club.
Second.
Any questions? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Illinois Security Professionals Association raffle license.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton.
move to approve issuing a raffle license to the Illinois Security Professionals Association to sell raffle tickets between July 7th, 2020 and August 31st, 2020 for their 50/50 raffle to be held on Friday, August 31st, 2020 at Silver Lake Country Club.
Second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello. Aye. Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Motion carries.
Proclamation honoring Bali shoes as Orland Park Business of the Month.
So at this time, I'd like to give a proclamation honoring Bali shoes as Orland Park's Business of the Month. If anyone's here for Bali shoes, come on in. And you can come on up to the front if you'd like. So first I'm going to read this and then I will present it. Yeah, that'd be great. A proclamation honoring Bali shoes as Orland Park's Business of the Month. Whereas Bali Shoes began in 1959 as a family-run business and is now owned by brothers Dan, Perry, and Tony Bali. And whereas in 1959, Bali Shoes first opened by their father, Joe Bali, and their uncle Vito at 103rd Street in Beverly. Joe then opened in Flossmoor in 1973, and in 1976 opened the store in Orland Park, occupying one of the first locations in Orland Square Mall. And whereas in 2012, Bali Shoes constructed their building at 14360 South LaGrange Road, where they are currently located with an additional store in Wheaton and 4 New Balance stores in Naperville, Geneva, and 2 in Indiana. And whereas Bali Shoes is a unique shoe store where loyal customers find that proper fit is number one. All of this due to their dedicated staff of knowledgeable salespeople who have been with Bali Shoes for the past 30 plus years. And whereas Bali Shoes is known for selling everyday comfortable shoes for both men and women with quality name brands such as New Balance, Clark's, and Johnson & Murphy. And whereas Bali Shoes specializes in helping active adults and health-minded people in finding the proper fit and size, along with offering a variety of arch supports. And whereas Bali Shoes carries many sizes and widths, men's to 17 and women's to 12. And whereas Bali Shoes is known for great quality, service, and knowledgeable salespeople, these traits are paramount to great customer service. And whereas Bali Shoes donates their overstock while also accepting donations of gently worn shoes to their favorite local charity, Share Your Souls, which personally distributes these shoes to impoverished areas around the world. Now, therefore, I, Keith Peacaw, Village President of the Village of Orland Park, Illinois, in the counties of Cook and Will, do hereby extend the gratitude of the entire community for more than 44 years of serving the community, and hereby proclaim Monday, July 6, 2020 as Bali Shoes Day in the Village of Orland Park. Congratulations. Thank you very much for all you've done for Orland Park over the years. I know you've been waiting a few months for this because you were going to be Business of the Month several months ago, and then we had a lot of Zoom meetings. So thank you very much, and I'll come down and give you this.
Have you turn around and face this way so I can get a picture too?
Other one? Okay. Accounts payable from June 16, 2020 to July 6, 2020.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy?
I move to approve the accounts payable from June 16th, 2020 to July 6, 2020 in the amount of $3,254,805.90.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello. Aye. Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Consent agenda.
Consent agenda, item A, payroll for June 26, 2020, approval. Item B, Park Pavilion Installations, RFP 2019 award. Item C, 143rd Street at John Humphrey Drive, Phase 1, Engineering Design Services, Patrick Engineering Contract Extension Supplement Number 1. Item D, Budget Adjustments, Third Quarter 2020 Number 1, approval. Item E, Resolution amending the 401A Sick Time Buyback Program Adoption Agreement. Item F, online and interactive voice response, credit card processing fees for development services. Item G, ordinance amending appendices A and B to ordinance number 5523. I will entertain a motion to approve items A through G of the consent agenda.
So moved.
Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Utility service and foundation preparation for facilities at Centennial Park and Centennial Park West.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton?
move to approve awarding sole source contract in the amount of $100,375 plus a 3% contingency of $3,011.25 for a total not to exceed $103,386.25 to Aries Inc., Tinley Park, Illinois, for water and sewer service extension work and plumbing connections. Sole source is required to meet program deadline completion by July 31st, 2020. And to approve awarding sole source contract in the amount of $42,000 plus a 3% contingency of $1,260 for a total not to exceed $43,260 to Light Construction, Montgomery, Illinois, for foundation work needed to meet program deadlines to permit the delivery and placement of flush toilet facilities on July 27, 2020, and to allow the village manager to approve change orders not to exceed the contingency amount, and to approve a budget transfer of the amount of $146,647 from account number 023-0000-470700 to account number 283-4003-443100.
Second.
That was a mouthful.
It was. That's why I took this down.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Healy?
it troubles me when I see sole source contracts. I mean, I'm still think I'm new to the trustee thing, and I've seen more single source contracts so far than I care to. And here's two more single source contracts. Oh, there's a reason for it and all. there's an excuse for everything has an excuse for it. I mean, it's in business. So I'm just dismayed that there's these, single source contracts. The world of bidding is out there. If I don't know if it's a case where we don't have a good bidders list, or we should expand and search out people. I know Aries Inc. has been a couple times with no other bids, and there's reasons. There's always a reason, and a reason for it. But here we are with basically a month to go to get the work done, and I don't know. This didn't come up yesterday. It's coming up weeks ago, and we only get these two people bidding on the contract. I'm just disturbed by that, and I'm just tired of seeing. I mean, there's the road contract thing. I thought that was legitimate because we had the pricing already set. It was a different thing, but this is not the same with unit pricing. It's a construction. That should be estimated by more than one company. I'm against sole source bidding, and I hope we don't see any more.
Any other comments? I agree with you, Trustee Healy. I think this, and George, you can correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think this was a mistake that was made by somebody who has since retired, but it was a mistake, and unfortunately now we're in a time crunch. Is that accurate?
Yeah, that's correct. So this is a time-sensitive project to get delivered. It was actually originally not part of the programmed budget, so that was a later amendment. That's correct that there's an individual that has since retired from the village that put these projects together and neglected a couple of components. In one case, neglected the utility component. That's the Aries portion of this project. And another case had intended to use a different foundation design that was not within the parameters of the building code, so this is a last-minute change to accommodate that. In both cases, Public Works did reach out to multiple vendors, but found that only one vendor could deliver the project in time. So we're sensitive to Trustee Healy's comment that we never like to see single source bids. We do have, of course, other projects, though, that we can go back and compare these two and find that despite the fact that there was only one bidder, they are competitive prices.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Healy?
It reminds, your explanation, thank you for your explanation, Greg, and I understand it, but it just reminds me of the time that we had that electrical component for $1.6 million or whatever, and it had to be done because if we didn't order it at that time, they wouldn't get the thing manufactured in 6. It comes to the board, it's too late to do anything about it. We all know contractors that could bid on this thing, and I think in this time of pandemic, there'd be more than a few contractors looking for work out there. So it just gets back to everything's, when we hear about it, it's like it's already past the deadline, and so me recommending people to bid on it is no good. So.
I agree. Like I said, we did reach out to multiple vendors. Only these could provide bids that could accommodate our timeline. But yes, generally I agree. Our normal process would have had these going out for multiple proposals. We'd have a minimum of 3 numbers to ensure we're getting that competitive pricing. In this case, because we could not get the 3, we used other unit quantities and things from other contracts to verify that the pricing is competitive.
And Trustee Healy, we all agree. I particularly do not like sole source, and that's, I think, one of the reasons that a few months ago the village board approved a very comprehensive procurement ordinance. A sole source or waiving bid it should and will be a very uncommon event. This is obviously an exception, but generally all the departments understand that we follow that comprehensive procurement ordinance that the board approved not too long ago, and that is going to be our philosophy as we proceed with these contracts in the future.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge?
So I'm glad we put the policy in place. We'll take it on faith that staff is going to continue to push in a direction where we don't have these last minute have to get it done and there's only one contractor or manufacturer who could provide the equipment. So certainly agree with the spirit of that. I just want to basically say, over the years, we, the Village of Orland Park, as an entity, have gone to Aries more than a few times, and they've done great work for us. I'm pretty sure it's competitive price, but it needs to be stated.
Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello? Aye. Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Ely?
No.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Motion carries 6-1.
Bless you. Megan Nicole Ridge, development petition for site plan, landscape plan, rezoning, subdivision variance, subject to annexation.
Before we make the motion for this, Greg or George, could you, or Ed Lilo if he's here, could you give us the, what's different from this versus the committee of the whole discussion that we had, so we know which motion to move forward with?
Okay. So generally at the project location is 88th Avenue and Beverly, or 80th Avenue and Beverly Lane. They're proposing 9 single-family lots. That'll be in total a 10-lot subdivision, including the detention areas. And since the committee of the whole meeting, they have reduced the lot size of Lot 7, which has allowed them to come into compliance with our high water line setback from the detention area on the north end of the property. On the south end of the property, they're still requesting a variance from 25 feet to approximately 15 feet. That is, just to explain that, when you're requesting a variance, they are looking for the minimum amount to come into compliance or to achieve the intent of the code. On the south end of the site, if they request a variance for the high water line, that allows them to meet our minimum lot sizes for those lots directly adjacent to the pond. If they were to meet the high water line setback, they would change that out for a variance in terms of lot depth. So just to explain the change, they've done what the committee had requested in reducing that size of that lot. As a result, they have met the setback for the high water line on the north end. On the south end, it would be more difficult to do, but it's a change from one to the other. So it's either a high water line setback, or it's loss of lots, or a dimension lot setback. So there's a couple things to consider there. They are still requesting, so the size of Lot 7 has been reduced from 17,392 square feet to 15,218 square feet, and they've reduced the width as well. In addition to that, one of the things that you'll notice is that they are still requesting a pond slope setback from 4:1 to 3:1. Based on a review by our engineering consulting and our engineering division, they are in support of that should the variance be granted by the village board. Obviously, it's up to the village board of whether or not a variance is approved, but the design that they've proposed, assuming the variance, would be acceptable for our engineering division.
And they also agreed to take...
So, yeah, so all of the pond will be privately maintained by a homeowners association. In addition to that, if the homeowners association does not take responsibility or for whatever reason disbands, the village will be implementing a fallback special service area that allows us to call on that, make any necessary improvements, and tax the residents that would be a part of this development appropriately and evenly to cover the cost of whatever we would have to mitigate.
Okay. Is there anything to add, George or Greg? Yes.
Nope, I think
So if I can summarize, they made a few of the changes we requested, not all of them, but they also took ownership of the pond and the maintenance,
Right,
which
and
is
that's, I guess, where you make some changes somewhere that affects everywhere else on the development. So at the point that they were at, if they were going to make additional changes, it may cause a full redesign, but at this point, they've requested the minimum amount to come into compliance with our code, and then obviously requested the variance from the board.
correct. And anything? Okay. There's two separate motions here, so someone can make one of them. One is to deny this, and one is to accept it with the changes that have been made, including them taking ownership of the pond and the as well as the SSA.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
May I just ask Ed Lilo a question?
Sure.
Ed, with the water depth being the 15 feet, how does that impact the water capability of that pond, if it does at all?
So that's
Any issue with,
So this is a variance that the village has looked at in the past and has granted, and it doesn't impact the amount that the pond would hold. It's mainly separating the high water line of the pond, what's ever anticipated at the highest that it will be, from either property lines or other structures. So it's not impacting how much it can hold, it's impacting the distance from
Proximity.
development.
understood, okay. And then the ratio is really a cutting issue too, a maintenance issue.
Right, so the amount that we have, that we always account for an 8-foot wide maintenance strip so that we can access it. Any additional, obviously would impact, we don't want any impact on the adjacent land or the areas near the homes, but having extra space is never a problem in terms of when we have to maintain areas or get access to them, really. So the more the merrier in that respect, but also we want to accommodate the appropriate size development.
Thank you.
Mayor Peacock?
Trustee Dodge.
Just, could staff touch briefly on how the conditions here, so that those residents in the future understand they are financially responsible for that pond? How do we execute that? How do we make sure the SSA is in place?
Well, currently, the property would be under single ownership, so it will be established under the existing developer. But in the future, the specific development agreement, the SSAs, all of those will be recorded against each property, so they'd be aware via that mechanism. If there's other ways to notify them that the village board sees fit, then we can also investigate that as well.
Mayor Peacock, that's fine. I just want to make sure that, it's in the record for future homeowners. If they buy 20 years from now, it'll be in the title search, so they'll understand they have an obligation if that pond is not maintained properly. Just want to make sure we're thinking this forward.
Correct, and I think as the village moves towards this becoming sort of our standard practice, we'll be presenting before the committee of the whole coming up here on the privatization of ponds, which would entail exactly what I'm talking about in this development. And as that becomes more commonplace, more and more as residents buy in, that will be sort of in they'll understand it further, I think. So there'll be a PR push on our part, but also we'll have that information recorded against the property.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenn.
Mr. Lilo, what about that Lot 7 with all those variances? How is that house that's going to be built on there? Is the square footage going to be different, or is this lot going to look really out of place?
So the variances are in regards to the setback, and the Lot 7 was oversized to begin with. So Lot 7 is still compliant, and the house will match the character of the area.
It's a third of an acre, so it's a pretty big lot.
Yeah, so it's compliant with the remainder of the code requirements.
Okay.
So I'll entertain a motion to approve, upon annexation, the rezoning of the subject property located at 13201 88th Avenue from E1 Estate Residential District to R3 Residential District, and move to approve, upon annexation, the preliminary site plan titled Preliminary Site Plan for Megan Nicole Ridge Subdivision prepared by Landmark Engineering, LLC, sheet PSP 1, dated July 8th, 2019, and last revised May 20th, 2020, subject to the following conditions: meet all building code requirements and final engineering requirements, including required permits from outside agencies, submit a signed permit application to the Development Services Department for a separate review. Signs are subject to additional review and approval via the signed permitting process, and additional restrictions may apply. All proposed single-family homes shall conform to all village codes and ordinances, including the bulk requirements of the R3 Residential District per Section 6-204 of the Land Development Code and the Building Code. 4, the detention pond shall be privately owned and maintained by an established homeowners association. 5, a special service area, SSA, shall be established to assure that privately owned detention pond will be maintained to village standards in the future as finalized at the time of the annexation agreement. And I move to approve upon annexation of the plat subdivision titled Megan Nicole Ridge prepared by Landmark Engineering, LLC, subject to the following conditions: submit a record plat of subdivisions to the village for approval, execution, and recording, and I move to approve upon annexation of the preliminary landscape plan titled Megan Nicole Ridge Subdivision Landscape Plan prepared by Clarence Davids and Company, PC sheet 1 through 5, dated April 11, 2019, and last revised May 26, 2020, subject to the following conditions: submit a final landscape plan meeting all village codes and all required supporting documentation addressing all outstanding landscape items in conjunction with the final engineering submittal. Provide the maximum cash in lieu amount required for tree mitigation for projects less than 10 acres in size per section 6-305.f.3 and is finalized at the time of the annexation agreement. Provide cash in lieu of parkland donation is finalized at the time of the annexation agreement. And I move to approve upon annexation of the following variances subject to the same conditions outlined in the preliminary site plan motion. 1, reduce the required detention pond setback and landscape area from 25 feet to as little as 15 feet, section 6-409.e.18, section 6-412.d.1, section 6-305.d.8.b. 2, to allow for an increase to the slide slope of the pond from 4-to-1 slope to 3-to-1 slope, section 6-409.e.18. Approval of the petition is subject to the annexation into the Village of Orland Park.
Second.
No, I'm entertaining the motion. So moved. Trustee Healy?
So moved.
And Trustee Calandrello seconds. I know you guys didn't motion it because you wanted me to say that mouthful.
It's your turn, okay?
Okay, any other comments on this? All right, call the roll.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Objecting and protesting the rezoning of the properties 11215 183rd Place from E-1 to I-1.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani?
resolution number, please.
2034.
I move to pass resolution number 2034 entitled Resolution Objecting to and Protesting the Rezoning of the Properties Located at 11215 183rd Place, PIN numbers 19-09-06-226-003 and -004, Will County, Illinois, from E1 Residential Zoning District to the I1 Industrial Zoning District by the County Board of Will County, Illinois.
Second.
Greg, can you please give us a summary?
Sure. This regards an existing truck service facility located on these properties. It was previously in Mokina, has been disconnected. It is in Will County, as well as a lot next door that they're seeking to rezone to also permit that use. They had previously met with the village in regards to this. They met with the planning staff to discuss rezoning of this property and possible incorporation of the Village of Orland Park, subsequently decided to file.
Can I ask you to leave if you're not sitting in a chair? I will call you in here to speak at the appropriate time. Please don't make me ask again.
They did subsequently file in Will County for this rezoning. It's inconsistent with our comprehensive plan, even though it is outside the village. It's within our planning boundary and is inconsistent with our planning for the area. During the Plan Commission at Will County, our Director of Development Services had filed an objection relative to this, so this is the next step as it moves on to the Will County Board. It's the formal objection to be on file there, which will trigger a supermajority vote for the rezoning.
Are there any questions and comments from the board?
Mayor Pico, just a quick comment. Oh, I'm sorry.
Outer space.
Yeah, Trustee Dodge?
Just make sure there's no feedback.
There's none right now.
Great, thank you. So just to make sure I heard that right, Will County as a governmental entity knows our feelings about this, so this will not be a surprise, correct?
This will not be a surprise. It'll just formalize the objection, forcing the supermajority vote.
Great, thank you.
Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
I'm here to represent.
There's an opportunity to speak at the end of the board meeting. This isn't a public hearing on this. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Discontinuation of after-school Pals program.
I'll entertain a motion to approve discontinuing after-school Pals at the onset of the fall 2020 season.
So moved.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee
I
Calandrello.
just want to confirm, I read the staff report, but I know I have residents asking me about this. So the school district has increased their after-schools and before-schools program, so that's why we're cutting the program. So it's still the services out there, but it's just, there's an overlap. Now we want to get rid of the overlap.
That's exactly it. The school district has, they had an after-school program previously. They've substantially enhanced it now. Every elementary school building will have this program. It will be now run by the school district. Prior to this, they had it through a contractor. So this is, we're competing in the same service arena. And this is just a better program since all our students are District 135 students as it is. And we will be eliminating one of the liabilities, which is what we've been doing, is we've been transporting the students from the school. So now they'll have on-site before and after school program. Ours is only an after school program. And they'll also be offering camps during legal holidays, which is something we don't do. So they've got a really good program in place. So it just doesn't make any sense to duplicate that effort.
Okay, I just want the public to know that we're not canceling.
So it's a duplicative service as well as bus liability that we no longer have to deal with. So
I understand. Then just, can we make sure we contact all the families that do the after-school so they know that they have to go to someplace else?
Yep, that's
Point in the right direction.
Absolutely.
Thank you.
Yeah. Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dodge.
Glad we're doing this, and to pivot off of what Trustee Calandrello said, I think some extra communication here would be helpful.
Absolutely.
Okay. Any other questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
John Humphrey Complex renovation, Phase 2 change order.
Mr. Chairman,
Go ahead.
Trustee Healy.
I move to approve the John Humphrey Complex renovations, design build, dash Phase 2 change order.
Second.
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Resolution regarding 2020 summer special events.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I move to approve resolution number 2035 entitled Resolution Regarding 2020 Summer Special Events.
Second.
Any questions or comments?
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Calandrello.
it just, I seem like we put small events with big events, particularly in, so like this concert at the park, that's traditionally a smaller event versus the Taste of Orland, which is thousands of people. Is it just we're trying to do the whole calendar at one time? Is that the purpose of putting those all together? Or, because they're two different events, two different social distancing needs, two different mask requirements. I was just wondering, are we just trying to do the whole calendar, or is there a possibility that as a board we can discuss and pick some of the small events out? I guess, why is it all together?
The resolution here is just to get confirmation at the staff level that we're going to proceed, with everything going on with COVID and everything. We do have plans in place to account for social distance and everything. We just want to get confirmation from the board that to proceed with these events.
I guess I would just maybe, if there are other comments of the board, if we could talk about maybe, I don't know, there's if we could pull the board, I don't want to waste the time and make an amendment that we could pull some of the smaller events out, because it's apples and oranges in my opinion.
Could you repeat that?
Sure, can you hear me or no?
Not at all.
It's hard to hear you.
Okay, so can you hear me now, everyone?
Yeah.
I know I'm in the corner here. So my question was why we put all the events together with smaller events like Concerts at the Park versus a big event like Taste of Orland. We're talking about 1,500 people, give or take, for one versus 1,500,000 if it's a good event. So I was just wondering if staff just did a whole blanket of all the events until October. Is that what they were looking for? And that's why they didn't kind of separate it, because a Concert at the Park at Crescent Park is going to have less demand for staffing, for social distancing. The ability to social distance is better on a smaller facility or a smaller event versus the Taste of Orland. I guess that was my question. It sounds like the answer was we just wanted to do the whole calendar out. So then the second part is, I don't want to waste the time with having an amendment, but if we have some discussion, if anyone would be interested in pulling out some of the smaller events because it's easier to social distance and be safe.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
I would agree with Trustee Calandrello. I think, well, my personal opinion, holding these big events is not a good idea, but the smaller, this is all clumped together. So I just don't understand why we did that, where, like you said, the concert at Crescent Park, you might have 250 people that might show up. They can social distance, but when you do the Taste or the other big concerts, you've got more people coming. Just my personal opinion, but I don't know. They're all clumped together, so it's either a yes or a no for everything. Correct?
I mean, I think any trustee can always make amendments to the resolution. There is a resolution that's attached that includes all those events. That's just the way it's been structured, is we just have all the events for the remainder of the summer in there.
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Malani.
I believe the term here is summer special events, not small, not large, summer. We're worried about the summer. Doesn't matter what event it is. I mean, for those of us that were at the 4th of July fireworks, we were able to witness that the guidelines we put together for events work. We used a bit of common sense. We were able to witness, to use some caution and some safety. And people that came in small groups sat together, right? So we limited the capacity. We had ample spaces for people to wash their hands. All of these things were in place. So no matter what event we have, we should be able to duplicate that. We asked people to wear masks, and if they felt they needed to, they did, right? So, they watched from a distance, they watched from their cars. I guess my point's really that we've proven that people go out and actually enjoy these events, no matter the capacity, if they choose to, and really be respectful of other people's wishes and to maintain their own and other safety. And I was actually very impressed with everybody's actions, and I think everything went very well. And, if you weren't there, I wish you could have seen it.
Any other comments?
Mayor Pico.
Trustee Dodge.
George, were you able to forward my email?
I'm sorry, Jim, I did not see it. I'm sorry, Trustee Dodge, I haven't.
No, that's fine. Mayor Pico, one of the things that I guess I would like to say broadly, because I said it before, I think we need to continue to take steps back towards normality, given that we are in abnormal times, so to speak. So I like the idea of planning for these events. If I have any concerns, is we're not quite sure what's going to happen in a month or two, and I'd like to make sure that we do these things as safely as possible and protect the village, if you will, financially in terms of having successful events. So I forwarded an email to the board, and I'll just read it now and simply ask if the board would entertain an amendment, which is, at the next board meeting, staff will have for us the exact date, which would be the last possible date, to cancel any or each of these events, and they will present a detailed review of the best data sources, for example, as referenced in our return to normal plan, to maximize the chances of public safety in Orland Park. So what I'm trying to accomplish here is just, we've done a great job, I think, paying attention to the data and the science. If things start trending in the wrong direction, I just want to make sure we have a thoughtful way to change or alter our plans. That's essentially what I'm asking.
So do we have a second on the amendment?
Second.
Okay, let me see if I can pull it up, because you said you sent it to us?
I sent it by email earlier, Mayor Peacock.
Okay, just so that I can, when I call it, I can have it. Give me a second.
Yeah, it's at the bottom of that email.
Okay, the one you sent at 5:58, got it. All right.
Correct.
I got it. Any comments on the amendment? So I'll make a comment on the amendment. I think our plan does account for this, so I don't see any reason we can't do this, because I think our plan is based on 14 days. We're going to have this discussion in a little bit, but the governor's plans obviously were basically declared void by the court. So we need to pass something, a past plan, we're passing a plan. The next phase would be to allow these larger events, provided that the data indicates that that's the right thing to do, and that those data sources and the data recommendations come from the CDC. So I see no reason why not to do that, because in 2 weeks, we're going to have to vote again on the plan to see if we move to the next phase or not, based on the data. So there's no reason why we can't bring that information, because we're going to have it anyways.
All right, so I guess, should I ask then that that's a formal motion? I think Kathy...
I thought you made the motion. We already seconded it.
Great.
Any other comments on the amendment? So I'll call the amendment for a vote, and the amendment is, by the next board meeting, staff will have for us the exact date, which would be the last possible date to cancel any and each of these events, and they will present a detailed review of the best data sources as referenced in our return to normal plan to maximize the changes of public safety in Orland Park. So that question is now put. Call the roll.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Fenn?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
No.
Trustee Katsinas?
No.
Trustee Malani?
No.
Mayor Pico?
Aye. Motion carries 4-3 for the amendment.
Just didn't think it was necessary.
So for the main motion,
Mr. Mayor, I have a comment. Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Calandrello.
Just final words. I know we have a disagreement, but these large-scale events have been canceled due to increased risk of transmission, which, even with help from our village and our staff, the reason why the numbers are so low is because of the preventive measures we've made. The Taste of 1,000 people in a small area outside Village Hall. I mean, if you look at pictures of Taste, people are on top of each other. There's no good way to social distance. These are the exact type of events that make it that's difficult to not have the transmission of the disease. Not to mention the band's also going to add more people in the crowds, and it's just a high risk of spread. Additionally, the financial cost of this event, even if we're locked into contracts, the staffing alone, the police overtime, the public works, the rec department, I just don't see justifying just the event, the benefits event versus the cost, the possible cost. And we also attract people from all over Illinois. I'm just again worried we're stretching staff to our team too thin. We already have 3 confirmed coronavirus in our village, including the staff that would be working these events in those departments. Just a very brief in my office today, I just wanted to show that we're going to be the minority in having these events, okay? So this is a brief list that I found, maybe in 5 minutes, that I'm sure could be longer, from the Chicago Tribune that were canceled events. So the Anaheim Taste of Summer, which was a July event. The Aurora Green Fest, which was scheduled in September, is canceled. The Batavia Windmill Days is canceled. It was a July event, or middle of July. The Bristol Renaissance Fair is canceled through September. I think that ends in September. The Buffalo Grove Days was planned for the Labor Day weekend. That was canceled. The Clarendon Hills Daisy Days was canceled in June. The Taste of Des Plaines, so another taste, was canceled in June. The Frankfurt Bluegrass Festival was canceled in July. It was held in July. Frankfurt Park Railroad Days was canceled. The Swedish Days in Geneva is canceled in June event. The Grace Lake Summer Days has been canceled. That was an August event. The Lake County Illinois Fair has been canceled. It's a July, actually the same weekend of Taste of Orland. The Ravinia festivals throughout the whole summer has been canceled. That's the concerts. The Celebrate Highwood has been canceled, all summer events. Chicago Scots Annual Highland Games and Scottish Festival has been canceled. Taste of Joliet, so a very close neighbor, has been canceled.
You've been warned to exit that area before, that it's off limits, and now you're up there again. Please leave, or we will call a recess. Can we go up and lock that door?
Maybe the cleaning lady has a key.
Keep going.
Sure. The Libertyville Days, which was scheduled for June, was canceled. The Lincolnshire Red, White, and Boom Festival, looks like it was a holiday festival, was canceled recently for over this weekend. The Eyes to the Sky Festival, canceled. That was a July event. Lockport Old Canal Days, canceled in June. Naperville Rib Fest, canceled. That's a really big fest, which is very similar to the Taste. Naperville Last Filing, canceled. Community Days in Mundelein, canceled. Gospel Fest in North Chicago, canceled. Orland Hills Party in the Park, canceled in June. Oswego Park District Perry Fest in September, canceled. Taste of Park Ridge, canceled for July 9th to 11th, so very similar. The Will County Fair, canceled in late August. The Sandwich Fair, canceled in September. The Skokie Festival of Cultures, canceled in May. The Waukegan Dandelion Wine Festival, canceled in June. The Scoops Waukegan, canceled in July. Taste of Whedon, canceled in June. The DuPage County Fair was canceled for the late July period. And the Kendall County Fair, canceled same weekend as the Taste. So us approving such events as the Taste is not the majority of the state, not the majority, I believe, of the public. So we are acting, in my opinion, reckless. We're all here because of the citizens. That's who we serve. And we believe we all act. I never question any intention of the parties up here and in the corner at this point with the best interests of the residents, of the taxpayers. And having these large events, in my opinion, I respectfully believe is not in the best interest of our community. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Healy.
We're here to elect, we're supposed to represent the people of Orland, and not the people of Bartlett or Kendall County or Kane County, and I resent the suffering of taking selected, a long list of just wasting time here of running through all the thing. It's, I don't know why you have to list. Did you forget anybody, or should there be more? It was just a simple comment would put more time back in our lives. I'm for, we're supposed to not, they don't tell you what the basis of their thing, of voting out their concerts is. Would like to see, sound science and all that be the basis, and we haven't witnessed too much of it in Illinois, and hypocrisy and all that. We haven't gotten past that by some of the leaders. I'm for these concerts here. It's fine. I think some of us want to live, and it's. I think it's wonderful that we're putting on the events. The first event we had, that the fireworks, I think went very well, and why not go forward? Thank you.
Yeah. Any other comments? So my comments before calling the roll is, I'm glad to see, Dan, that you've become a fiscal conservative. That's nice to see. We do have 3 confirmed cases out of about 850 full and part-time employees. The state runs at about 1.4% rate, so that's far less than 1%, and I think it highlights what a great job we're doing because these cases came in from the outside and they didn't infect anyone else. So it speaks volumes to how well Orland Park's done. The reality is there's going to be cases here for the rest of our lives. This isn't going away. We have to return to normal at some point. We have to return to normal based on data and science. We have a plan that does that. There's no reason to make a decision to cancel prematurely when the data and science is moving us towards reopening. There's been COVID hospitalizations in suburban Cook County. The last 6 days have been 0. And in the last 12 days, there was 1 day with 1 day with 2, another day with 1 and 2, so in 8 days was 0. So things are moving in the right direction, and these concerts and these events are some period away where we can still make that decision. It's your laundry list. I'm sure you could have made an even longer one of people who have canceled their fireworks, but we still had our fireworks, and anyone who was there knows that that was done extremely well, extremely safely, and people had a great time. So with that, I will call the roll.
Mr. Mayor?
You've already had 2 opportunities to speak. I'll call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
No.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
No.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Resolution regarding Centennial Park West Concert Series tickets for first responders, medical, healthcare workers, and military members.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
I move to approve resolution number 2036, entitled Resolution Regarding Centennial Park West Concert Series Tickets for First Responders, Medical Healthcare Workers, and Military Members.
Second.
Any comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
I'm all for, although I'm against the whole event, I would never take anything away from our first responders, medical individuals, or anything like that. Since the taxpayers of Orland Park will be footing this bill, is it strictly for first responders, healthcare workers that live in Orland Park, or is this, from the background I got, that it's open up to anybody, and then is it 1 ticket per first responder that they get the discounted price, or is it their entire family? And I guess those are 2 of my questions.
So there is no restriction on resident or non-resident. So any first responder, medical healthcare worker, or military member would get a free ticket, and then their family members would be eligible for the discounted rate. So so let's say it's a police officer would get the free ticket, and then their family members would be able to buy at the $50 for the series rate.
Immediate family, extended family, are we putting limits on how many free tickets versus, because it did say at the very end, while supply lasts, is that the 3,000 tickets, or is it a set number that we're giving away?
So what we're doing is as we're working on the planning for the concert series, we're using formulas similar to what we did at the fireworks display. We're using formulas on how many people we can safely, within social distancing parameters, get in. And so once we get to that parameter for the entire concert series, that's what the supplies is.
And it's immediate family.
Immediate family, correct.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dutch.
All in favor of the idea, because I think it's a great way to say thank you. All right, check. My recollection of something Ken Fricker said a long time ago when it came to us giving away used village property to other governmental entities, we couldn't give it away because that would be giving away public property. So we had to charge some really nominal amount. So I guess my question then for Klein Thorpe is my memory wrong, or have things changed?
This is Dennis. So I talked to Ken about this issue. He doesn't recall saying that the village could not give tickets like this away. He believes that he may have been asked about giving free tickets or items to elected officials, which would be a problem. But he and I conferred on this, and we don't see an issue with respect to giving this to first responders.
Okay, so Mayor Pico?
Yes.
The original instance when this came up was regarding used sporting goods equipment and or police cars to communities that needed it. And we brought it up on the board floor. I have a very distinct memory of this. So it had nothing to do with tickets. It had nothing to do with concerts. I just want to clarify. It was specific to physical property, and I distinctly remember being told we could not give away public property for nothing. We simply couldn't do it. So Dennis, help me understand how this doesn't constitute giving away a public good since we're paying for it in its entirety.
I think you
help me understand the law.
If I can jump in just 1 second before you answer, Dennis, I know that since I've been here, and I think the chief could probably jump in here, we have given goods to Robbins. We've given police cars since I've been mayor. So I know since I've been here, we've given things away.
We gave them, we sold them.
No, we gave them.
I think if you have a legitimate public purpose, you can give the item away. There has to be a legitimate public purpose for the expenditure. In this case, the tickets.
Mayor Pico, one final comment, if I may. I don't know if that's two or not.
You still have the floor.
Thank you. I'm going to vote for this. George, Chief, and Dennis, I'd like to see it in writing when we're finished with this vote. Thank you.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
What Trustee Dodge is referring to, I do remember that conversation, and it was not the vehicles that we were giving to Robbins. It was to a different community, and it did come up, and it was a question. So I agree with him that we need to see what happened and what the legal ramifications of those two decisions were. I mean, I know in the past, since I've been on the board, we have given away village equipment to underserving communities, and kudos to that, but it did come up, it was a different community, and it was questioned legally that we couldn't do it.
Yeah, as I said, I spoke to Ken about this specifically, and we both conferred on it and believe that it's perfectly legal, but I'll be happy to reduce that to writing.
Thanks.
Any other comments?
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
I really think this is a great promotion to actually show our first responders, our healthcare professionals, and our military that they mean a great deal to us, and they also deserve a break to actually go out and enjoy themselves and actually do it in a safe environment. So thanks for putting this together.
Anybody else? So this recognizes the outstanding efforts of several groups of people. First, our first responders, who were on the front lines of COVID-19 and then the recent riots in the region. Also our military members who represent us and protect our freedoms around the world. And last but not least, our frontline medical workers that have been working tirelessly throughout the COVID-19 pandemic. It's the least we can do, and I personally hope, and I think we all hope, that this small gesture of appreciation brings a sense of normalcy to your lives when these events occur. Call the roll.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Amend Title 7, Chapter 18, increased number of video gaming licenses.
Ordinance number, please.
5526.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
Move to pass ordinance number 5526, entitled an ordinance amending Title 7, Chapter 18 of the Orland Park Municipal Code regarding the available number of video gaming license issued by the Village of Orland Park, Cook and Will Counties, Illinois.
Second.
Any questions or comments? This is for Square Kelp, who has submitted their plans, and it's been approved by myself and by the Development Services Department. You guys saw a picture of that plan, so I thought the plan was fine. Any other comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
Aye.
Trustee Healy?
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas?
Aye.
Trustee Malani?
Aye.
Mayor Pico?
Aye.
Resolution adopting the Village of Orland Park back to normal plan.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Malani.
I move to pass resolution number 2037, entitled a resolution adopting the Village of Orland Park's back to normal plan.
Second.
And just as background, this is the plan that we've had out there. It started on April 24th, and then we had an update May 5th, and then when the first Restore Illinois plan, and then we had another one, I believe, May 24th, that we updated because there were some other updates that came out. And there are some updates to this, but they're pretty minor. Most of the updates on this one are on the executive summary and on the current situation, because obviously that's changed pretty significantly since May 24th. And the rationale for putting this on here is, and I think Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, but the latest order by the judge downstate voided all of the governor's executive orders. He did not request a stay, so essentially everybody can open right now across the state. Is that correct?
Yes, the order that was issued on July 2nd by the Clay County Circuit Court approved the plaintiff's oral request that his amended complaint be representative action and apply to all citizens of the state of Illinois, not just for him. Initially, it was an order that applied only to that particular individual, but it has now been extended to the statewide.
So with that said, it's important that we provide guidance. The difference between our plan and the governor's plan is not a lot. The differences we're all aware of because we've passed a resolution asking him to make those changes, so ours are different from that perspective. The other place where ours are different is it is guidance, not a mandate, because we don't feel like from a legal perspective that the mandate is enforceable. Is that correct, Dennis?
That's correct.
So that's kind of the summary of it all. And then I'll open it up for comments.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
One of the questions has been about masks, and the governor, and this will be to Dennis, so I read that it's unconstitutional to mandate wearing masks. However, in Texas, the governor did mandate it, and so are we saying that it's unconstitutional in the state of Illinois or at the federal level? And if we're saying the federal level, how can Texas do it and we are saying that it's unconstitutional?
The judge wasn't clear in terms of federal or state constitutional law, but he did make the determination that the actions that were taken by the governor were unconstitutional with respect to the executive orders after the first 30 days.
Okay, but what I'm saying is that in particular to mask wearing, we could mandate it. It's not unconstitutional, correct? Federally speaking? Because if Texas can do it, why couldn't anybody else?
I think the process may be different down in Texas. I don't know the answer to Texas law. I can tell you that there is specific statutes in Illinois that deal with the governor's authority to make determinations with respect to emergency situations. According to this judge in Clay County, that expired after 30 days, and any decisions or executive orders that he took after that time were void.
I understand that, but you still didn't answer my question. In all of our legislative background, it said that making masks mandatory is unconstitutional. Where in the Constitution does it say that?
I gotta look at it. I'm not sure what you're referring to. It's in the whereas clauses.
Mm-hmm. It's a legal question. I was just wondering if it's unconstitutional how Texas could do it. So,
I guess I can't give you an answer as I sit here right now whether or not the Village of Orland Park can require, or the state of Illinois can require masks. The Illinois Department of Public Health probably can in certain circumstances, and it would be constitutional. I think you have to follow whatever the statewide process is, and the correct agency or entity that makes that requirement. Okay. So the answer is, I think the Illinois Department of Public Health could probably require that under certain circumstances, and it would be constitutional. I think in this case, the governor requiring it.
Well, I'm not worried. The governor's situation is apparently mute, because you clarified that for me earlier, because originally the suit that was filed, that one was just for that individual, and then you said it was amended to represent all the residents in the state of Illinois.
Correct.
And that's why we're doing what we're doing, so there's some rules in place.
Correct.
So if you could look into it for me about the mass situation.
I think the short answer is it depends. There could be a situation where it could be constitutional, and there's certainly a situation where it's not unconstitutional. It sort of depends on the process and who's requiring it.
Okey-dokey.
But I'd be happy to get you more information on it.
Thank you.
Any other comments? Anybody?
Mr. Chairman.
Trustee Malani?
Since we're already in phase 2 of our reopening plan and it aligns mostly with the state's plan, this makes sense. If we sit here and wait for the governor's guidelines of a vaccine or a long-term eradication of cases, it's going to be a long time before we reach phase 5. So we've got to do something to keep progressing forward. Without a healthy economy, our government can't continue to provide services that our people are going to depend on. And since this plan has been, developed on guidance from the CDC, Boston Consulting, many national plans, and many health professionals, I think it's, kind of getting the stamp of approval. So, and if anyone's been watching and keeping track, the mayor, our staff, myself, we're all monitoring these numbers of cases. So we want to do things, that follow the science. We keep saying following the science, and that's exactly what we want to do. So, we moved into phase 4 without a spike in cases, and I think we're comfortable that we can continue down the path here in Orland Park. And, if we think about our, businesses as well, we plan to support them during the reopening phase, but most importantly, we need our residents to support the businesses in our village as well. Continue to use a safe hygiene practice, wear a mask when required, and if you're sick, or if you're uncomfortable being in a particular business due to how they have decided to reopen, stay home, maintain yourself, and take care of yourself. So I'm looking forward to this plan being put into place.
Mayor Pico?
Trustee Dutch?
I would continue to say that every step towards normal is an important step. Let's do it thoughtfully. And I'd like to encourage everybody in Orland Park to read this, including what they see in the attachments from Simon and the Restaurant Association. Thank you.
Any other comments?
Mr. Mayor?
Trustee Calendro?
I have a couple comments, and this, according, and correct me if I'm wrong, staff, this was issued on Thursday, the agenda item, and under the only title that it was adopting resolution for the Village of Orland Park back to normal plan. There's no attachment, that was it. And Dennis, correct me if I'm wrong, but for the Opens Meeting Act, it has, any agenda item has to have at least general subject material, a matter in it for the description. So I have a little issue with the Opens Meeting Act that this was a little rushed, and so I'm concerned about the timeliness and also that the residents want to know that what's going on. Also us, this is the first time I'm seeing the full plan. It was uploaded at 3:30-ish today, and I'm not sure who can review a whole plan of, I think it's like 60 pages, correct me if I'm wrong, Keith. I just believe that we're rushing this right now. I can't make an informed decision, and also believe that we might be violating the Opens Meeting Act based on rushing this. Based on all those, I'm not sure why we can't wait, or if you want, we could have an emergency meeting in 2 days where we don't have to have all the Opens Meeting Act protections to pass this. So with that, at this time, based on the Opens Meeting Act and also the ability for us to review the full plan, it was amended today, so it's not like it was out there for a couple of months. I move to table this to the next board meeting.
Do I hear a second?
Second.
Call the roll on the motion to table, which would table this and essentially leave us without a plan.
Trustee Calandrello?
Aye.
Trustee Fenton?
Aye.
Trustee Dodge?
No.
Trustee Healy?
No.
Trustee Katsinas?
No.
Trustee Malani?
No.
Mayor Pico?
No.
Mr.
Motion
Chairman.
fails 5-2.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Fenton?
could Dennis Walsh please respond to the open meetings thing?
As far as I understand it, the agenda was amended 48 hours in advance to include a resolution adopting the Village of Orland Parks back to normal plan. That to me is sufficient enough description of what the intention of the board was to do tonight. So I don't view this to be an Open Meetings Act in any fashion whatsoever.
Mr. Chairman,
Trustee Malani.
a question for staff.
Trustee Calandrello.
I believe you followed the rules with me speaking. I believe Trustee Malani has had already 2 bites of the apple.
Yeah, this is actually my first. Learn to count.
I think this is Trustee Malani's, would be Trustee Malani's second. So are you?
Draw that. I thought it was his second, so I'm sorry. Thank you.
So,
Trustee Malani.
yeah, and I apologize for stepping on you there. Just a quick question. How many times have we sent out this plan via email, and how long has it been posted on our website, available for the public to read?
It's been on the village's website since it was initially introduced back in April 24th.
Right. And how many times have we posted Facebook messages telling people to go look at our information?
We've had a lot of social media regarding all of the things that the village is doing regarding this.
And you've been posting quite regularly via email our progress on COVID-19 and our plans to move forward with our reopening plan?
We have a very strong social media and website presence regarding this. So,
but internally, as far as emails to staff, village officials?
Yes. Yes. As far as updates to staff, almost daily.
So we probably have, this is not the first time we've seen this information then?
It's been around for a while.
Okay, just checking. Thank you.
Any other comments? Okay, before I call the roll, it's unfortunate, and we've seen this all over the media lately, and somehow the wearing of cloth masks have become the latest attempt to divide people and create a political issue, whichever extreme of masks you're on either side. You're willing to kill people, you want people to die. That's absurd. The state of Illinois, this is from the state of Illinois, at IDPH states the CDC now recommends wearing cloth face coverings in public settings when other social distancing measures are difficult to maintain, especially in areas of significant community-based transmission, which actually right now we're technically not. They go on to state that the most effective measures for preventing further spread of COVID-19 are to stay home when you are sick, maintain physical separation between people while out in public, and frequently washing hands with either soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub. Let me repeat that because it's very important for people to remember. This is how we've gotten here. The most effective measures, remember we were already decreasing all this stuff before we ever started with the whole mask thing, okay? The most effective measures, and this is according to the CDC, the WHO, and IDPH, for preventing further spread of COVID-19 are to stay home when you are sick, maintain physical separation between people while out in public, and frequently washing hands with either soap and water or an alcohol-based hand rub. So please, first and foremost, do all of that. And I think we've had the discussion on masks here of that businesses can make those decisions and people can decide whether to use them, you go in them or not. If they're asking you to wear them, if they're asking you to wear them and you don't want to go in because they're asking you to wear them, then don't go in. If they're not asking you to wear them and you're uncomfortable, then don't go in. And that's going to be what figures it out. And that's what's going to be to determine this. We can all point out to all kinds of inconsistencies on either side, but that's the bottom line. And that's what the IDPH recommends. With that, call the roll.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
No, based on notice.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
Updated social media policy.
Mr. Mayor,
Trustee Katsinas.
I move to approve the village board to adopt the revised and updated social media policy as presented.
Second?
Any questions or comments? Call the roll.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye. Non-scheduled citizens and visitors, I have several. I will remind you, you have 3 minutes. So Susanna Ibarra. Okay. Susanna Ibarra. Ibarra. And please state your name and your address, also for the record.
Susanna Ibarra, and I don't have to give you my address. That's against my rights. My name is Susanna Ibarra. I've been a longtime resident of the southwest suburbs. I'm also the chair of the Will County Progressives. I think I share some frustrations at the state of our living. Staying home, perhaps while unemployed, is a very difficult thing to do. Our small businesses are suffering. People want to go back to normal. But I think I also speak for everyone in this room when I say that no one is willing to die for that kind of normalcy. No one is willing to get severely sick for months or put their loved ones at risk to pretend that our lives are normal. No, our lives are not normal. When a pandemic is disseminating our economy and killing our parents and children, that is not normal. So it bothers me to see this mayor pretend that everything is normal. It bothers me to see our mayor using the money that we pay in taxes to litigate our way into forcing the whole state to ignore our healthcare experts when they tell us to stay at home. It bothers me when we see small businesses suffering and workers sidelined. We're using taxpayers' money on frivolous lawsuits and not meaningful investments in our workers. That is shameful. Every one of you holds this position right now because we trusted you as elected officials to do the right thing. So I think you're looking out for your own interests. I think this is a political ploy. The trust you had with the public has been broken. You chose politics over lives and to cover your own backs, and it's a disgrace. And let me just tell you, so everybody knows, I've lost 5 loved ones to COVID. And let me tell the mayor, I didn't know that he was an epidemiologist, but there are many people that are completely asymptomatic. They don't stay at home because they don't know they're sick, and they're passing it around, and they're killing people. So, thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Tarek Catton?
Right here. Thanks for giving me the time to speak. I was compelled to speak here today because I've heard a lot from the board and from the mayor from the beginning of this pandemic.
And again, can you state your name for the record?
Oh, my name is Tarek. I live right up the street. So I heard a lot in the beginning of this pandemic about how much the board and the mayor were concerned for the citizens, the residents, and the businesses within the village. And what I have learned in recent weeks from things that I have read is that there is not concern and care for those residents, but there is pure contempt for the residents of this village, and that's displayed through actions. So the first action that I learned about was about the lawsuit that was just mentioned, a lawsuit that, despite whatever beliefs you may have about the governor, is a complete and utter waste of time. And it will, and I will quote the Chicago Tribune, be a lawsuit is a colossal waste of taxpayer money. That's the Chicago Tribune. I later heard that we would be going through with what was being discussed here, which is the outdoor summer events, huge gatherings during a pandemic that is essentially a public health nightmare. In a village where you have 2 employees who have COVID and people like the woman who just spoke before me who have family members who have died, that is showing contempt for residents, not care. And additionally, I later heard that that would cost residents hundreds of thousands of dollars during a time when people are out of work. So it's one thing when you waste money during times of prosperity, okay? It is another thing when you waste hundreds of thousands of taxpayer dollars when you have people across LaGrange, in that mall, in those stores, who have only recently got back to work, who are not making much money to begin with, who are digging into their savings just to put food on the table, and to waste their money during a pandemic on something like a summer concert series that will only put lives at risk is shameful, and it is not fiscally conservative. That's nonsense as well. So I am calling on the board to end this BS lawsuit first and foremost, that will go nowhere except waste thousands of taxpayer dollars.
We can hear
and
you.
to end, can you? I don't know. And then to end these summer concert series and outdoor series that will risk lives, cause deaths, and waste hundreds of thousands of Orland taxpayer dollars. Please do not waste our money, our time, and risk our lives. Thank you. I didn't get the memo on the polo shirts, but maybe next meeting. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. I want to remind everyone that this is a boardroom and a board meeting, so please keep your comments professional. This is a professional meeting. Mackenzie Blitzstein. Okay. Mackenzie Blitzstein.
He's coming.
I see.
Hi, everyone. I'm Mackenzie Blitzstein, and I've lived in Orland Park for my whole life. I'm an essential worker at Starbucks, and over the course of the pandemic, I've had no choice but to go to work every day. Since March, people across the village have really stepped up and banded together by making masks, donating to organizations and to people in need, and staying home to reduce the spread of the virus. But unfortunately, the messages to protect public health seem to resonate with everyone except you, Mr. Mayor. In multiple village videos, and seeing you come into my own Starbucks, you never wore a mask, and you've even quoted them as unconstitutional. I'm shocked that the official Village of Orland Park government account can be promoting such political propaganda when a mask is the easiest possible step to reducing the transmission of the virus. Apparently, you think you're exempt from the virus and the rules don't apply to you. As an essential worker, I go to work every day and have been tirelessly cleaning and protecting my baristas and customers. I do not make a lot of money. I remain stunned at the people who have effectively given up on following the rules like you, Mayor Peaklaw. Even as you sit here tonight, you dismiss opponents and people like me who are trying to get us back to normal. Your idea of normalcy is ignoring my business's request to wear a mask and suing the governor when you don't get your way. You just stated that if you don't want to wear a mask when a business requires one, that you don't go in. So why did you come into my store last week and ignore the sign to wear a mask and then roll your eyes when a barista asked you to put one on? We're here to show you that all of you on the board, that we Orland Park residents stand against your mindless statements and behaviors. We will put public health as a priority, and I reject your empty rhetoric. You have no compassion for others, and it shows. COVID-19 is still very real, and it has even hit 2 members of your village staff, yet you can be seen cruising around Orland without a mask. A mask is the absolute bare minimum to protecting public health, and I wish you all would realize that wearing one protects essential workers like me, who have been serving you for the last 4 months. I have some updated recommendations from the CDC, as well as an extensive list of studies to support this. I urge you to read it and revert your ignorance.
Thank you for your comments. I guess the only question I would ask you is, I know exactly what you're talking about going into Starbucks, and I was asked to put the mask on, and I did. Nobody at your tables are required to wear masks, are they? No one in your store was wearing a mask at the tables because they're not required to, when they eat and drink. So I'm just asking you, did I put the mask on when I was requested?
You are, but you rolled your eyes. And then you took it
Did I
off.
put the mask on? I did. Thank you very much. Maureen Farrell.
Good evening, everybody. And my name is Maureen Farrell. I've lived in Orland Park for 29 years, raised my family there. And I just want to say that I'm very proud of the progress that the village has made, and that I believe that we have a very family-friendly village. We have wonderful education. And why am I bringing this up? Because we also have a strong sense of community, that because of this, Orland has been able to attract large businesses and develop our economy. And I say all this to question the current trend by the mayor and the board to waste our tax dollars. I have two major thoughts that I'd like to leave with you. First is, I've been a nurse for 45 years, and I want you to please believe the scientists and put public health first, please. And my second thought is that you please be fiscally responsible and drop the lawsuit against the governor and cancel the concerts that will cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars as taxpayers. And the most important part is, please listen to us. We are your constituents. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Stephanie Hartman. Stephanie Hartman. Jordan Henderson. Jordan Henderson.
Stephanie's coming. I must not hear you.
I don't know any of these people.
Please state your name.
I'm Stephanie Hartman. I've lived in Orland Park my entire life. I want to call particular attention to the resolution tonight supporting all summer events, the summer concert series, the Taste of Orland, and more. First, why are you wasting time on the agenda to create a resolution on this? All events could proceed as planned without having to make a public spectacle out of them. As 2 village employees have tested positive for COVID, including one in the Parks Department, public health is hardly mentioned anywhere tonight. That's a shame. But since that topic, unfortunately, isn't resonating with the village board, I'm here to talk tonight about the cost of these summer events have incurred on the village. Our national economy has taken a major hit over the last few months. Almost 18 million people are without a job. Overall unemployment is around 11%, but those rates are steeper in minority communities. Orland Park residents and workers are not exempt from these unemployment statistics, but the village has not created any relief for those workers, essential and non-essential, and has laughed off any attempt to do so, citing how much money it would take. Nevertheless, the summer events are proceeding as planned. After filing a Freedom of Information Act request, I discovered that the summer concert series this year is set to lose the village $360,000. That means that even before COVID-19 hit, the village was operating at a budget of negative $360,000 for the concert series. The mayor's claims for months that we'll lose so much money if we cancel the concert, but the records show that they've always been operating at a deficit. Some of the contracts for the concerts were even signed in the middle of March, after we knew how severe COVID-19 was. The wise thing to do as a village would have been to cancel the contracts altogether at that moment and postpone this series until next year. Instead, the mayor doubled down on his unpopular decision and is going even further by pursuing litigation against the governor. How do you rationalize this when all of you on the board still complain about budget shortfalls, including for this event, when we could lose the village nearly $500,000? The incompetence from this board is astounding, and as you selectively pick and choose which facts to report on the dais, this summer events will lead to an even larger budget shortcomings, and your fiscal irresponsibility is out on full display this summer. For everyone on the board who ran campaigns based on balancing budgets, you appear to be lying through your teeth. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Jordan Henderson.
Hi, my name is Jordan Henderson. At best, Orland Park, led by Mayor Pekow and this village board, has been apathetic to the coronavirus crisis. And at worst, you all have been downright reckless. You would think that 2 city hall workers testing positive for the virus would constitute a wake-up call. But yet here we still are, demanding accountability and change from our elected officials. Chief among these changes is the pointless lawsuit against Governor Pritzker and the so far extremely successful guidelines his administration has put in place throughout the state. Instead of prioritizing the health of Orland Park's residents, this lawsuit seeks to tear down some of the most effective public health strategies in place for the fake promise of returning to normal life. Now, I, just like everyone else in this room, desire to return to life as normal. But that just won't happen until this state and this country have successfully stamped out the spread of coronavirus. You cannot support local businesses if you are sick at home with a 101-degree fever. You cannot enjoy a night out at any of Orland's restaurants if you are stuck in the ICU. This mayor has time and time again rallied against the state to change course because of the revenue shortfall this crisis will cause Orland and every other town in the state. But you cannot pretend to support the economic well-being of this village while also supporting a lawsuit destined to fail and waste, and to quote Tarek, thousands and thousands of dollars. What's more, continuing with events like the summer concert series only perpetuates this cycle of losing money and risking lives. Thousands and thousands of dollars, Mayor Pekow. That's how much money that has already been lost from these concerts. And now you just want to throw even more money away and risk even more lives?
1 minute.
How can we sit here and act like this is the normal we want to return to? Why not divert this money to further support Orland's residents and local businesses directly? Increase testing, support contact tracing, and provide supplies to residents and essential workers. Why not do something that actually matters?
Thank you for your comments. Ellie Keene.
Hello, my name is Ellie Keene, and I've been a resident of Orland Park for my entire life. I have never been more embarrassed to stand here as a resident and call you my representatives. I would like to start by reminding you that this is not a professional setting, but a civic one, and as such, I have the right to speak out and call you guys out. 588 people in Orland have tested positive for COVID-19. Over 3,000 people have died in the state of Illinois, and over 25,000 people have tested positive. Our economy is in free fall, with millions of people sidelined out of a job and hundreds of thousands of people forced to work in unsafe conditions, myself included, to keep our economy going. This is a pandemic, and yet the only real action by Mayor Pekow has been to sue the governor of Illinois for not reopening fast enough for his liking, because we have a concert to put on. Where are your priorities? How disgusting that in order to manage a deficit you all have put yourselves into with our taxpayer money, that you're willing to put even more lives at risk and use even more money to play political games. Now is not the time for political games. Now is not the time for meaningless, actionless resolutions that preserve your political agenda. Now is the time for legislation to improve our lives. To that end, the Orland Park Village Board has failed us. As our representatives, you should have our best interests at heart, but it's painfully obvious that Mayor Pekow only cares about himself and furthering his personal agenda. Mayor Pekow refuses to wear a mask, but enforces social distancing policies by kicking people out of the boardroom. We aren't able to make online public comments while simultaneously not being allowed in the only setting where we're able to make these comments. It's clear that Mayor Pekow's only priorities are silencing his constituents, because if he really cared about effective social distancing policies, policies and the health of the citizens of Orland Park, then he would wear a mask and cancel the summer concert series and other such events. In reality, this is in everyone's best interest except Mayor Picow's, who couldn't be so much as bothered to wear the completely free masks that are sitting on the table right outside this room. Grow up.
Thank you for your comments. Jean Bailey. Jean Bailey. Okay, we'll move on. Bruce Cordes. Oh, hold on, Bruce.
Hello, I'm Jean Bailey, a longtime Orland Park resident. I'm an active member of our community, a mom, and a nurse at Lurie Children's Hospital of Chicago. We've seen developments over the last 4 months of just how deadly coronavirus is. There have been hundreds of cases in Orland Park. I personally know of 7 people that have died, 3 of them nurses, and the youngest one in her 30s, leaving an 8-month-old infant motherless. I can assure you, as a healthcare professional, COVID is alive and well. And as you must know, populated states that have reopened at an accelerated pace have experienced dramatic increases in cases and deaths. Florida, Arizona, and Texas are setting daily records. Let's learn from these states and not copy their infection and death rate. That's why I felt the need to speak up tonight. The Village of Orland Park is suing the governor to follow the same model of states like Arizona, Florida, and Texas. There is still a lot we do not know. What I do know is that attending one seminar at Johns Hopkins or anywhere else does not make you an expert at forecasting what happens with COVID. What we should not be doing is playing Russian roulette with people's lives. Mayor Picow is set on furthering his own political agenda in this lawsuit, and I'm offended he's using our taxpayer money to do so. Think about how that money could be spent. When was the last time any of you set foot in a hospital and talked to healthcare professionals directly caring for COVID patients? I have. I've learned a lot from individuals like the people who worked at Payless and ran out of PPE and then were resupplied by other providers that they weren't used to, or Silver Cross struggling to get enough ventilators, or Christ, they still have several COVID units open. And it's not just hospitals that have critical needs. Taxpayer dollars spent on this lawsuit could instead help provide breakfast programs for our children in Orland Park, increase our access to technology, and help schools to prepare for social distancing and provide PPE for our school and staff students. And let me just say a word about masks. Masks are widely recognized by medical authorities as the most effective first-line defense against the virus. And it's also what is recommended by the CDC. What masks are not is a violation of a constitutional right. Let me assure you that our founding fathers did not mention masks. And yet our mayor thinks they're unnecessary. Friends, it's not difficult to wear a mask, sometimes uncomfortable, but it's a small price to pay for protecting family, neighbors, and fellow citizens. What is unacceptable is to expect healthcare professionals to care for those who have chosen not to wear a mask and then die. The lawsuit against the governor needs to be dropped, and the authority you have needs to be used appropriately to help protect the residents of Orland Park. Please, listen to us that want to speak our minds.
Time is up.
Time's up?
Time is up. You get 3 minutes. Thank you very much for your comments.
Thank you for your time.
Bruce Cordes.
Good evening, Mayor and trustees of Orland Park. I'm Bruce Cordes. My address is 12838 Oak Valley Trail, Homer Glen, Illinois, 60491. I'm here with my brother, Paul Cordes, to represent our interest in the rezoning issue of 11215 West 183rd Place. We are the beneficiaries and owners of First Midwest Trust number 965892. Paul and I are both local residences. Paul, a resident of Orland Park for 42 2 years. Myself, Homer Glenn, for 32 years. Trustee Dodge, you personally visited Paul and Gail Cordes at their home in Riviera Country Club to register Gail to vote in Orland Park in 1993. I would like to point out to the board that they were misinformed on critical points of our rezoning tonight. First of all, we never met with Orland Park officials. Second of all, a request for a meeting by our attorney dated 4/3/2020 was never answered, which is Exhibit C, a letter from Richard Kavanaugh. I requested to be heard on these points. I contacted the mayor's office today. I talked to Jennifer, and I also talked to Ed Lilo. I wanted to be heard on our points before this went up for a vote, and I was denied that right. Jennifer assured me I could be heard, and apparently, I guess she doesn't carry any information or weight. First, for the record, neither of us or our attorneys were notified of this meeting in advance. In fact, it only came up on the Orland Park calendar July 3rd. The need to rezone this property was only necessary due to a border agreement between Orland Park and Mokina executed in 1997. We purchased the property in 1996. This border agreement was never disclosed to us or recorded in Will County to our knowledge, and never recorded to the deeds of this property. Only when I requested a copy in my email to Bethany Salmon of Orland Park, dated October 22nd, 2019, did we obtain a copy of this border agreement, Exhibit A and B. This agreement specifically uses our property as a pawn for Orland Park and Mokina to serve their borders, basically leaving us in no man's land. A letter dated 4/3 from Richard Kavanaugh to Orland Park briefly outlines what triggered the need for rezoning, Exhibit C. We had 30 trucks and 30 employees at our location at any given time for most of the years in Mokina, all coming and going on a daily basis with no negative impact, complaints or accidents to our neighboring businesses, residents.
Time's up.
Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Deborah Cordes. There's no procedure for that. You know, you can't give 3 minutes to, this isn't the floor of the Congress. If you want to speak for 3 minutes, you have 3 minutes to speak. Do you want to speak? Okay. Paul Cordes. Our rules for public comment are 3 minutes per person, just like all of them got. That's our rules. This is not a zoning hearing. This is not a zoning hearing. This is not a planning hearing. There's a process for going through zoning and planning that starts with our Development Services Department. And Greg, I guess if you could give us the background on that real quick.
I can do that already. Sure. I mean, effectively, the property owner elected the Forum of Will County for their rezoning matter. You know, they did have some communication with the Village of Orland Park early on regarding their proposed use. They elected to proceed under the county zoning, and so the county zoning hearing is the forum for this discussion. And what the board passed tonight is the official village position relative to that county petition.
And we'd be happy to entertain a zoning hearing here. Correct. I mean, but all the appropriate applications have to be made. It has to go through the process, which would start with our Planning Commission, then it would go to the Committee of the Whole, then it would come to the board, and both the Planning Commission is a public hearing.
You guys gave 9 people 3 minutes on one subject.
I did, and each person gets 3 minutes. That's our board rules.
I guess we'll have to put a house subdivision and that down to 2 million dollars.
No, what you have to do is you have to apply through the zoning process, and then it goes to the Planning Commission, and that is your public hearing. Public hearing is not on the board floor when we're passing a resolution regarding another hearing in another county. That's not a public hearing. This isn't,
You refuse to go to the Will County meetings, you refuse to answer my attorney's letter that offered to come in and explain our position to Orland Park zoning.
I have not refused anything or had any conversation with you whatsoever.
I talked to your personal secretary today, John.
Today, and this was on the agenda, and you've already applied at Will County and gone through all the zoning. That's not going through our process and our zoning process. Our zoning process, the emails from Bethany, did it explain our zoning process and all the information that was required? Can you answer that, Ed, for me, please?
Spend my own property and Orland Park, or not to say me, Orland Park.
So just to address the conversation with staff, this was at a time, they did have a conversation over the phone. The email correspondence that I could locate was Bethany sending the boundary agreement, a copy of the boundary agreement. My understanding from conversations with staff is that she spoke to them and outlined what potentially they would have to go through as far as our development process is concerned in annexation. And they had questions in regards what would be allowed in the village versus what would be allowed at the county. And she advised them to inquire with the county as what their regulations would be, what it would allow, but it wasn't directing them to, that the village wouldn't consider a petition.
And just in a quick 2 or 3 minutes, just give the process.
So they would start with a conceptual meeting. So the way that they started is perfectly appropriate. Typically, we go back and forth before we actually schedule that meeting, but ultimately, it gets reviewed by staff. It gets forwarded to the Plan Commission where we make a presentation. Plan Commission makes a recommendation. That recommendation goes to the Committee of the Whole. The Committee of the Whole has an opportunity to discuss it. Similarly, like you saw tonight, the Committee of the Whole can remand it back to make some corrections and ultimately gets heard by the Village Board for approval. With an annexation, there's an extra step where there's a public hearing held at the Village Board level, but essentially that's the process.
So there's two public hearings, one's at the Planning Commission and one again because it's annexation, one again at the Village Board, correct?
Correct.
Okay, thank you. Thank you, Ed.
No problem.
So that's the process, which, we're happy to entertain, but that's not what we're doing tonight. We're passing a resolution regarding your process that's in front of Will County in support of Orland Park's position. I have John Schaefer. You're signed up to speak. You're signed up to speak. Do you want to speak? So we would be happy to go through the process, and we'd be happy to have a public hearing and all of that, but this isn't the forum because that's not what this is. It's not a public hearing on your plans. It's simply we were supporting the resolution that for our opposition to your plans going through Will County and not coming through the Village of Orland Park. Is there anybody who didn't sign up to speak that wishes to speak? Come on up. Got 3 minutes, please state your name and...
My name is Yvonne Shirley. I live at 17404 Deer Creek Drive in Orland Park. I can understand people being very upset about this COVID situation, but I agree with you, Mayor Picow, because I'll tell you what, this is never going to be solved until there is a vaccine. And people have to move on from this. Those that don't want to go to the concerts certainly don't have to go. They don't have to compromise themselves in any way. As far as Governor Pritzker, it was okay for him to allow thousands upon thousands of protesters to be out in the streets. Nobody said anything about that. That was okay. When we had a protest in Orland Park, which, by the way, it was a civil protest, nobody complained about that. But just because we're going to have some summer concerts and people need to get away from the house and people need to find themselves doing something for a change, everybody's upset about this now. You cannot please all the people all the time. And believe it or not, there are more people that are looking forward to these concerts than are against these concerts. And at this point, everyone needs to take their chance. If you want to participate, do it. If you don't, then just don't do it. And that's exactly how I feel, and that's all I have to say.
Thank you for your comment. Anybody else here to speak tonight? Come on up.
Good evening.
State your name.
My name is Virginia Williams,
and I've been in this village for 42 years. Different village from 42 years ago. But Mayor Picow and trustees, I want to thank you, because there's been some things that weren't done with the last group that were up here that I thought should have been done. Thank you for the street repairs. Thank you for letting me make my own decision on what I want to do. I've been in the medical profession for years. I've been to the factories where they make those fantastic masks. They are the worst things that you can have. After they're through making those masks, they are spraying them inside and out, which will make you very sick and has. The reason Palos Hospital hasn't got what they needed is because Loyola took it when they walked out from them. Silver Cross, Palos Hospital, and Christ Hospital. We may have had an epidemic, but there were always room at those hospitals. They didn't turn anybody away. So I'm sorry for people. If you want to wear a mask, it's your choice. I don't want to wear a mask, and I'm not going to. And if I have to go into a store and they don't want me to go in that store without a mask, I don't support them. As far as people not able to go back to work, we can't get a right situation here. Washington's all in turmoil. Chicago, you go visit St. Louis, not St. Louis, Missouri, Springfield. They don't want anything to do with Chicago. They want it to be another state. So you tell me, where's there a right place here? Where's there a wrong? Just give me my damn independence and let me do what I want to do. Thank you.
Thank you, Jenny. Thank you for your comments. Anybody else to speak? Okay. Board comments. Trustee Fenton.
First of all, I would like to, since my voting record was brought up at a recent event, I'm just going to put my voting record out there on a couple issues and let everybody know why I voted the way I voted. When I voted against the celebration that just took place over the 4th, I was not voting against anyone's independence. This is a great country and we do have our freedom of independence, and that's what we were celebrating on the 4th of July. I was all in favor of the fireworks. However, I had to vote against the entire situation because there was a gathering with the bands prior to. If it had been separated, my vote would have been yes for the fireworks, but no for the band prior to. Also, as far as since the voting record it was put out there, I'd also like to put out there that I did vote no against the lawsuit against the governor because I felt it was personally a waste of taxpayer dollars.
Anything?
As far as the events go, I also voted against that this evening, and I voted against several of them prior to this because I also agree with Trustee Calandrello. The smaller events where it can be better social distance is fine, but offering large gatherings, in my opinion, is not a safe thing to do. And one of the big reasons for all of this, too, is that we are putting all of our employees at risk. Although, once again, the village manager will say that they all have PPE equipment, how many first responders who had their PPE equipment died? We can't say it's going to happen here, but you don't know. Those first responders who went to work didn't think they were going to die either, and they had all of their equipment. One person asked when was the last time somebody was in the hospital to experience what was going on. I was there. I was there for 29 days. I didn't have COVID, but I was in and out for 3 times and saw what those first responders had to go through. And it was horrible. It was horrible to see what those people went through. Yes, this is the United States of America, and you have the right to go to events, not go to events, to shop where you want to shop, shop where you don't want to shop. And that's the wonderful thing about this country. We do have a choice. But make sure when you're criticizing somebody, make sure you have the right information on how things went down, what the true votes were, And whether or not somebody agrees with me or disagrees with me, that's their right, and my right up here as a representative of the community is to vote for how I feel I'm representing the people in this community. And from the emails and phone calls that I get, so far I've been doing a pretty good job, especially on these votes. But if my voting record is going to be stated at an event, I just wanted to clarify how I did vote, why I voted the way I voted, and it wasn't against the fireworks and or the independence in this beautiful country that we do live in. So I hope everybody did have a safe and happy 4th of July. I celebrated with my immediate family. That's what we chose to do. However, I had a personal fireworks show at the end of my block. I don't know who was doing the fireworks, but there were enough fireworks in every subdivision where I live and where the chief lives that you could just sit there and watch all the fireworks. So I just really hope that our employees get the opportunity to make their own decision whether or not they want to work these events or not work these events. Thank you.
This is the second or third time this has come up. George, can you please explain again publicly, because the entire board does know this, so can you please explain for the public the status on our employees?
So when we do these, when we do the special events, there's a sign-up sheet that goes around, and they sign up for these shifts if they want them. And so we get people that sign up all the time. So they volunteer to come to our special events.
That's just new because you know as well as I do, the staff members were told they had to work the concerts. Now, that may have changed since COVID, but prior to, that was not the case.
That has not been the case since COVID, and the board's been informed of that several times.
So, and then as far as just coming to work, employees I
didn't say anything about work. I was talking about the events.
Oh, so yeah, there's a sign-in sheet that goes around in Public Works. They could pick whatever they could pick whatever shifts if they want to do that. We don't have a problem getting people to volunteer for that. Okay. And we do, like the 4th of July, we doubled the amount of restroom facilities. We brought in the cleaning company, the private contractor cleaning company. They were hitting all those sites on a regular basis. We doubled the amount of hand wash stations. We even put facilities out at Meadow Ridge and Centennial at the middle school so that the people, whoever parked there, would have them. And so we also had a lot of alcohol stations, not the drinking kind. And PPE is plentiful in our organization. We probably were at throughout this whole thing, we probably ordered 40,000 PPE. So if any employee at any point feels uncomfortable, they just need to go to their supervisor. We have never been punitive at all throughout this whole process. So that it's really important for us that we maintain the health of our employees, our residents, and our guests.
Trustee Dodge.
Thanks, Mayor Peacock. Just, sorry, is there an echo or no?
No, not for us, just for you.
Great, thank you. A couple of comments. So broadly, I'd like to thank everybody for speaking tonight because clearly there's a lot of energy and passion and sincerity on this topic on both sides. And so I'll paraphrase Voltaire when he said, I'm paraphrasing, of course, I may disagree with what you're saying, but I'll defend to the death your right to say it. And I think that's important as we think about how democracy should function. And so people coming up and engaging public officials like ourselves is exactly the right way to do it, even if we don't necessarily see the same situation the same way. So I appreciate everybody's comments, again, both sides. I'd also like to quote from an email I received this morning from John Hopkins, as a matter of fact. I've signed up for their email since the start of all this, and I paid close attention to the University of Washington's website, which I think is one of the best ones for summarizing the data. And my point here is simply this. Science is never settled. Data always changes. Quoting now, airborne transmission. The WHO, U.S. CDC, and other experts have continually emphasized that respiratory droplets are the main driver of SARS-CoV-2 transmission. However, 239 scientists from 32 countries are reportedly challenging that notion in an open letter to the WHO. And my point is simply this. We all have to make decisions, whether you're a public official or you're just an individual. You have to make decisions in uncertain times and with unclear information. As we think about what the current data and science is telling us, I personally think generally the direction we're going is prudent. That said, my wife and I always wear a mask when we're outside of the house and in public places. And to be clear, we very well may choose not to attend the concerts or the taste of Orland. However, as a public official, I've said it repeatedly, I am paying attention to the data, even if you might not agree with my interpretation. I am closely paying attention to the science as it evolves, as science always does, and I'm trying to make the best decisions I can on balance for the community and for the individuals. Someone said it earlier, and I apologize for not knowing who it is we take these steps back towards normalcy. I don't think we're going back to the way we were. I don't yet know what the new normal looks like. But as we take steps collectively back towards normality, we have to do things like this. We all have to exercise individual responsibility to be prudent. One of the things that we talked about earlier was the ability to, if the data and the science indicate that these are high-risk events to hold, I'm fully comfortable as a board member recommending to the rest of my board members to reconsider. We do need to kind of get back towards normality, and I think that's an important piece for all of us. And I have my family, I have my friends, and we all need to take individual responsibilities and be cautious about this. So again, you know, when I took the oath of office for this position, I was pretty sure you're not always going to get agreement. That's not how our form of government functions. And when you have a disagreement with the branch of government and the other co-equal branch of government doesn't do its job, then the third branch, the judiciary, comes into play. Do I think the lawsuit was a great expenditure of money? No. Do I think the core principles of trying to seek relief through an appropriate third branch of government when the first two don't really do their job? Yeah, I think we need to take a look at it. As things continue to evolve and change, we will adapt to that situation as we get there. That said, impassioned public speeches are exactly the way democracy functions. Now we need to think about it in a civil manner, which tonight has been. We've expressed our opinions. We're listening to each other. We see things differently, taking in the perspectives and data, and we make the best decision we can under very uncertain circumstances. Thank you.
Trustee Calandrello.
Just a couple comments. First of all, I hope everyone had a safe 4th of July. I guess we're correcting the records. We're correcting the records today. So again, just like Trustee Fenton said more eloquently than I'm going to, is that, again, my vote was for the fireworks, however, not for the band, and to put people together. I enjoyed the fireworks in a parking lot very close to Centennial Park. We probably 50 cars. We were spaced out perfectly. We behaved. We stayed away from each other. We were safe. We wore our masks. We even were able to put the YouTube channel on. It was almost perfect. I think it was a 3-second delay, which for fireworks, it was matching up perfectly. So I want to thank our citizens who did that, I was told that the parking lots were full, people were staying away from each other, people were celebrating safe. So I did not vote against the 4th of July or independence. I'm an attorney, and I swore to protect and defend the Constitution. So that's one thing. Second thing, I guess, again, we're correcting the record. Today, the mayor made comments regarding I'm a new financial conservative or something to that effect. We have the same record on our finances, Mr. Mayor. We've all voted. We have not voted for a tax increase. This is actually a really good segue. I was going to mention our property taxes came out today. Again, the average taxpayer pays less than $500 a year towards the Village of Orland Park for all the services we provide. That includes our police department. You can match it with other government entities, and we're one of the lowest. Again, less than $500 for the average homeowner in Orland Park. And I know, Mr. Mayor, you hate me keep on repeating this, but it's less than 7 cents per dollar that you pay to the Cook County Assessor's Office or the Treasurer. So I guess it was a good segue. Thanks for reminding me to talk about the tax bill and how low it is for the Orland Park portion. I can't speak for the others, and we can't control the others. So we have the same record on our financial conservatism and making sure that we're good stewards of the taxpayer money. And finally, you know, all of us here are trying to do our best, and sometimes we look like we're strongly disagreeing, that we're not being civil, but I always try to do that. I've never called anyone names on this board floor ever. And I know Mr. Mayor and I, we had this conversation after the election, how we appreciated, or you appreciated my role in the election of being respectful. And then Mr. Healy and I've grown up with your kids. You may have made some comments about me today, but we'll hopefully have a beer when we can, sooner or later. Same thing with the mayor. We've had Starbucks. We had dinner, breakfast at South Fork one day. Hopefully we have the same. And Cindy and I could talk to everyone. We all had something. So at the end of the day, I'm here in this seat, as long as I'm here in this seat, to do the best, in my opinion, for the taxpayers and for the residents, for health and safety. As we can see, we have a disagreement, but this is what government is about. And I think Trustee Dodge, again, said it more eloquent than I am saying it today. So with that, I want to thank everyone who spoke today. Again, I don't agree with everyone. I agree with some, but it's great to have that debate. We also had some young people talk, which I think is great to be involved in the process. So, and Virginia, I love her. Hopefully we'll see you at church sooner or later. And with that, maybe this is a question for staff, and you could answer it later offline. If we're Zoom eligible for people to call in still or not. I think we are, for if we, instead of having 100 people today or whatever the number was, if we can have these call-ins for the public, might save some space here because we ran out of room in the boardroom. So thank you with that, and have a good day. Have a good night.
Trustee Healy.
My first comment goes out to Police Chief McCarthy. Thank you for your service, as well as I just find it amazing how Chicago is 15 miles away and has all these murders and shootings, and we live in one of the most peaceful villages around. I mean, it's a testament to I'd say good trustees, but no, really, I think it's more or less the police force itself. And thanks for setting that system up. And we go to bed every night thanking God for that. So my other comment is I'm just perplexed with our governor. And I'm a Southside guy who says, "Where'd you go to high school? Where'd you go?" To get a little background, try and understand where you're coming from. Does anybody know where the governor went to high school? Does anybody know where he was born? Does anybody know where he went to college? Does anybody know, he went to Duke, by the way.
I think he went to Duke.
So, does anybody know where his first job was, or how he...
I'm sure there's a building named after his family somewhere there.
Yeah, so does anybody, what do you know? It's hard to believe that he would have empathy for smaller businesses. But then, okay, well, we'll give him some chances. We'll get him into government. And he, instead of fixing the obvious pension liability with all its failures and that, he wants to raise taxes. He wants to crush that business class, crush those people, those self-employed people. And here he is with coronavirus. He's crushing businesses that don't have to fail. They've got their life savings and all that. And the coronavirus does it. Then you look at the thugs, looters, and rioters, and police are backing away from letting people just have these businesses to loot and destroy the confidence of the people in here. These people here, some of the people here, I got the impression that they're all too willing to give up their rights of here. And one of they give up their rights to freedom. They want everybody to wear the same clothes, everybody have a mask on, everybody do this, everybody do that. No, it doesn't work that way. That's socialism. We have the freedom, thank God, to make this a successful place. You have to take those rights easily, and most of our trustees agree that, well, I'm so old that I say that I go back when it was okay to disagree with people, so I'm fine, you disagree, that's okay. It's, I think these people, a couple of the people tonight showed some class, polite and professionalism in their things, but all too many it was theater, in my humble opinion. Thank you.
Trustee Katsinas.
Well, the guy from Leo stole my thunder. You are a Leo person, right?
That's right. What? I skipped high school. I went to Ignatius.
Oh, that's right. I forgot. Excuse me. I just wanted to say thank you to our chief. You know, we saw you all over the media, and we had you for a long time. We're really, really going to miss you, and there's going to be very hard shoes to fill. So I thank you for everything. So, thank you. I didn't mean to come on to you like that. You
mean to cry?
But we appreciate everything. You're gonna, hard shoes to fill. Very hard shoes, and you know, you've demonstrated just a little bit of your capability and that of your command staff over the last couple of weeks that have been really, really tough. So we really, really appreciate you. We're gonna miss you. We wish you and your wife and your family and your grandkids the very best. And thank you again for your years of service to Orland Park.
Trustee Malani.
I'd like to thank Trustee Katsinas for totally throwing me off my rhythm with the standing ovation, but we do wish you well, Chief McCarthy. We are going to miss you. Wow, tonight was an interesting evening. I mean, we got to get our back to normal plan back in place. We're going to move forward with that. We finalized how we're going to handle our special events and, you know, give people the opportunity to go outside, you know, space out as much as they like, be comfortable with it, and be able to distance accordingly. Wear a mask if they like. More importantly, have the choice of whether to attend or not. You know, I listen to the comments, and, you know, we tend to make assumptions of people, and, you know, we judge, and a lot of us do take the health and safety of our population and our residents very seriously. We understand the implications, we understand the risks of COVID-19, and we have seen what it can do to a population. You don't know what we go through on a day-to-day basis because we're not always up here sharing. And I don't think we have to. You know, I wear a mask when I go into a building when it's required. I maintain my distance from people. I'll go out to eat both indoors and outdoors with my family. I'll go to a store, and I'll visit friends that are comfortable with me visiting. But most importantly, I respect the other's wishes to do what they feel is necessary to maneuver during this time. Just like before the meeting today, when I came to you and asked you if I should put my mask on or not sitting next to you. And our lives are full of choices. You can choose to wear your mask, you can choose not to. You can choose to frequent a business that may or may not adhere to CDC and IDPH guidelines. You can choose not to go there. You can agree that the economy should reopen. You can also think that it's too soon. But to be honest, these are your choices. It's your right to make those choices and stand by them. You can even try to influence me that you're correct, and I'll be more than happy to sit there and listen, because that's your right to tell me. But I think sometimes people push to the point where it's almost abusive and inflammatory, and to do that just to get your point across, I think it crosses a line into being harassing and unwelcome. You know, we have to keep in mind that our point of view is not the only one in the world. Everybody has their own opinion. And I understand that the past few months have been rough for everybody, and, you know, I just ask of everybody the next time, before you decide to unload your opinions on everybody or try to argue with somebody what you might not agree with, just think of three things. Is this something I need to say? Does it need to be said by me? And more importantly, does it need to be said by me right now? And kind of put that into perspective when you're talking to people. And I really think it's going to make these next few months of getting through this a whole lot easier. So, thank you all.
Thank you. So I'm going to say a little bit more than I planned on, because some of the stuff that came up tonight. But I'm going to I'll go a little deeper into the mask issue than what I was planning on, because we heard a lot about it. And I already told you that, somehow we've made this a political issue. I've told you what the state of Illinois recommends, including the most effective measures are. There's a reason for that. It'd be a lot, in my opinion, it's a lot more helpful for everyone to get the facts, and it allows you to make informed decisions and accept your personal responsibility. Unfortunately for everyone, the information coming from the CDC and the WHO has been changing regularly and going back and forth, and I think it would have been a lot better for all of us if they would have admitted up front that, hey, we don't know, and here's our best guidance that we can give you, as opposed to saying something definitive and then changing again, and then changing back again, and changing back again. It obviously, you lose some credibility. With that said, I'll give you some of the latest guidance, and I do talk to health experts, as we've talked about pretty regularly in the area, including epidemiologists, including infectious disease specialists. And according to the research, according to them, there are 0 scientific studies on the effectiveness of cloth masks. They're also not included in the pandemic training that the CDC makes us all take. It's not included. Social distancing is in there, but they don't talk about masks, and now that's something new. Regarding the use of cloth masks, though, the WHO and the CDC do agree on a few things. That they don't protect the wearer from coronavirus. They don't do anything if a person is healthy. They help stop the spread of a virus if someone is sick, coughs, or sneezes, and leaves the mask on their face when they do it. And it can also be accomplished by covering your face or by coughing into your elbow. So those are things that you can do. That's what the mask really does. It helps with that. It doesn't hurt to wear it if you can't social distance, particularly in indoor settings. That's what they agree upon. The WHO actually gives a lot more guidance. It's like 8 pages long, but I summarized what they talk about, because I think this is important for people to understand, because I think some people are somewhat, they're misinformed. I don't think they're ill-intended, they're just misinformed on some of the information they have. So medical masks, so those are N95 masks, or similar, which our police wear and our fire department and our medical folks wear. They should be worn continuously by healthcare workers in clinical areas during their routine activities. However, staff who do not work in clinical areas do not need to use a medical mask during routine activities. So that should tell you something about that. They recommend that persons with any symptoms suggested of COVID-19 wear a medical mask, not a cloth mask, a medical mask, self-isolate and seek medical advice. Vulnerable populations, people over 60 or with underlying comorbidities or immunosuppressed, should wear a medical mask for their protection wherever they can't get physical distancing. Still, physical distancing is the most important thing, but a medical mask for those people. So if my daughter has lupus, she should wear a medical mask, not a cloth mask, because she's immunosuppressed. Non-medical cloth masks, here's the potential benefits from the WHO. This is straight from their guidance. It has the potential benefit for source control, that's sneezing and coughing, for the general population in public settings, grocery stores, gatherings, closed settings, churches, mosques, etc. People living in cramped conditions, such as refugee camps and slums, which we don't have here. General public on transportation, bus, planes, and trains. I tell you, I was on a bus recently, and yeah, definitely wearing a mask. They list several benefits of healthy people wearing masks. Reduce potential exposure from infected persons before they develop symptoms. So these are the asymptomatic people we're talking about. They think they're healthy, but they're not. Then the next 4 are really interesting. Reduces the stigmatization of individuals wearing masks to prevent infecting others or themselves. So it reduces people who are stigmatized. It makes people feel like they can play a role in contributing, stopping the spread of the virus. It reminds people to be compliant with other measures, and it has potential social and economic benefits by encouraging the public to create their own fabric masks, may promote individual enterprise and community integrations. You notice that the bulk of these are not about health. They're about good feelings, feeling part of the community, and that's important during this time, but that's what the benefits are. Now, here's the potential harms, according to the WHO. Potential self-contamination if non-medical masks are not changed when wet or soiled. Also potential contamination if not worn correctly or manipulated. So you're only supposed to touch, and this is the same with a medical mask, you're only supposed to touch it out here. The minute you touch it here, it loses its effectiveness. And I challenge anyone in here to say that they haven't done that. And so it's not effective anymore. Okay. Potential headache and or breathing difficulties. I'm sure many of you have experienced that. Potential facial skin lesions or acne, difficulty communicating clearly, potential discomfort, a false sense of security, leading to potentially lower adherence of the critical potential measures such as physical distancing and hand hygiene. So the usual, we're doing this, so I don't need to do that. You gotta distance and clean your hands. Poor compliance, especially with young people, waste management issues, improper mass disposal, we've all seen them on the ground somewhere, difficulty communicating for deaf persons who need lip reading, and disadvantages or difficulty wearing them for children, developmentally challenged people, elderly persons with cognitive impairment, also those with asthma. My wife has a difficult time wearing a mask, or respiratory problems. So those living in hot, humid environments like we've been dealing with, it makes it harder to wear the mask. I think we all have experienced that. So that's the actual guidance that's out there, which is why it's so damn confusing and why it comes down to what are you personally comfortable with to some degree. My thing is I just try and stay away from people because I know that's the best way to handle this, is to try and stay as clear from people as you possibly can. So, but what you saw tonight, and I'll echo a little bit of what some of the other trustees said, it's how democracy should function. We should be having discussions. I heard a lot. In fact, I think that's all I heard was, Mayor, you did this, Mayor, you did that, Mayor, you did this. I think everyone on this board would agree the mayor hasn't done anything. The mayor's one vote. The board has done this because the legislative body has acted. Tonight, the legislative body enacted the plan. The legislative body decided to file a lawsuit. The legislative body has taken all of these actions because that's the way it's supposed to work. We had a discussion on the board floor. We don't always agree. Sometimes it's 5-2, sometimes it's 4-3, sometimes it's 7-0. It was 6-1 tonight as well. Sometimes we have those disagreements, we have those votes. That's okay. But we vote because we're a legislative body. We're not one person making these decisions. That's the problem with what's happened in the state. It's been one person making these decisions. Do I agree with everything the governor's done? No. Do I think, who's fallen down on the job? It's been the legislature. They didn't do their job. They didn't do what our board does and show up and do their job. But you can, some of the facts that were given, one of the things talking about, you can certainly try and influence me, and impassioned discussion is fine, but it's a lot better to influence at least me with good hard facts. And because emotion, I have to take the emotion out of it and look at the facts. And I'm looking at the facts all the time. But for example, we talked about financial issues. Let me talk about this from a financial issues, from the revenues that we've lost. $3.5 billion was given to the state, of which 45% of that was supposed to go directly to municipalities less than 500,000. That would be us. That's roughly $1.5 billion to state municipalities. You know what the state legislature said? We're only going to give the municipalities $250,000. We're going to swipe that other $1.25 billion. Let me tell you what $1.5 billion, if it's done on a per capita basis, is to the Village of Orland Park. It's about $9.5 million. George, would that do a pretty good job of plugging our hole? Sure would, wouldn't it? How much are we getting? $450,000? Is that what we've gotten, we've been promised so far? $9.5 billion, I think we've been a little shortchanged by the state. So for those who want to attack us for fiscal responsibility, I say take that passion and take it to where it really belongs, because it affects every town. Because Harvey's getting screwed, Posen's getting screwed, Mokina, everybody's getting screwed, because the state can't do its job and hasn't done its job for a long time. The reason that the Village of Orland Park is able to weather this storm is because we as a board have done a lot of good things in the last few years and put us in a position where we can hack this. Someone mentioned 3,000 deaths. Please make sure you get your facts right. It's over 7,000 deaths here in Illinois. Okay? 3,800 of which roughly are from long-term care facilities, 55%. Who is solely responsible for long-term care facilities in the state? It's the state. No one else can do anything about long-term care facilities. The state failed our long-term care facilities. They failed our seniors. They opened up visitation again in phase 3 to our long-term care facilities. The CDC says no visitors, restrict that until you're fully open. So they've even exposed them more. It used to be 45% of the deaths were in long-term care facility. Now it's 55. It's 97% here in Orland Park. Well, I heard Palos had a shortage of masks. What were we doing? Palos had a shortage of masks because the state didn't do their job. The state Department of Health did not have masks for our first responders. We had to go get masks for our own first responders. We had to go get masks for medical, for our own medical offices in Orland Park. That's what we did. Where the state was failing our medical offices here in Orland Park, we stepped up and we provided masks. How many roughly were taken? 3,000, 4,000? 5,000 masks to our medical offices that couldn't get them. The hospitals could get them because they can order in bulk, but the smaller places couldn't get them. So that's the kind of stuff that we've done. I heard about Arizona, Texas, and Florida. I look at these numbers all the time, and one of the things, and I also have to listen to the experts, and the experts said at the very beginning, don't close down too soon. If you close down too soon, you'll never get a spike. And then when you open back up, you'll get a spike. That's exactly what happened. Those places closed down before they had the requisite number of cases and the caseload they should have. And so then they opened back up and then boom, because they never had enough cases, you have to have herd immunity, and they had none because they had so few cases. So each state is different. You can't really compare us to state because you say Arizona, Texas, and Florida, and I'll tell you that our death rate is over double all of them, triple the 3 of them for the most part, except Arizona, we're over double. Indiana, Wisconsin, South Dakota, and Colorado didn't implement masks. They've done better cases per million, deaths per million, everything. Their economy's more open, all of that, than Illinois did. We're not going to know everyone took different approaches. We're not going to really know the answer to this 3 months out. 3-4 months from now, we look back and we'll say, how did you do as far as protecting your seniors? How did you do for deaths? And that includes Illinois. We're not going to know where we stack up. Right now, we don't look too pretty. We're in the bottom 10 in everything. But maybe that isn't the case in 3 months. I don't know the answer to that because everyone spikes at different times. The model that Trustee Dodge talked about, the Washington model, that predicted that Texas and Florida and Arizona were going to peak in like mid-June. So this isn't a shock. This was always predicted. Other states, everyone was progressing at different rates and peaking at different times, just like countries did. So it's not a surprise, just like counties. And that's the beautiful thing of Wisconsin. We just approved a plan because of what happened with the governor, but that's the same thing that happened in Wisconsin, and everyone thinks Wisconsin just went wide open. They didn't. They turned it over to local communities. And if you look at how Wisconsin does, they've done great because they're local communities. All of us care about the people. We may have differences about how to handle it, but we all care about our communities. But we have a pretty good feel for our communities, and we're looking at the data. Guess what? In Wisconsin, that was the same thing. And some of the counties opened completely. Others, like Milwaukee, Madison, they stayed shut down because they had a lot more cases. Well, here in Illinois, that approach probably would have worked too because we still have some counties with no cases, or like one, right? And they've been shut down this whole time. Really? I mean, to compare downstate, Edwardsville to Chicago and put them on the same timeline doesn't make any sense. So using some judgment in those different regions, Colorado's done that really well. They have different regions and they let the different counties do that. And they've done and if you look at those numbers, you look at how they're steadily decreasing and all that, it's great because there's a balance. You're balancing the cases, you're also balancing the healthcare system, but you also need your economy to open up so people are working so that there's not people stuck on unemployment, not people that can't afford these things. So it's a balance. For all the states that you're saying are spiking around, there's also states that have done really well without it. So it goes back to the point that nobody really knows. But back to something Trustee Dodge says all the time, everyone has the right to make their choice. But our job as a government is to inform you. And I think we've done a great job of that. I know someone said today, I saw something from the lawsuit. Well, I've been putting PSA videos out since the middle of March to keep people informed, showing them the data, showing the information. So if you're only seeing it 2 weeks ago or a week ago, you're really late. You've missed about 27 or 28 informational videos. We've been trying to keep you informed so you can make those decisions. With regards to the plan tonight, the state court, as we talked about, declared that the governor's executive orders are void. That's why we needed to do something. So we thought it was appropriate to provide guidance on the opening. And it is important to note it's guidance. Okay, again, we don't believe we have the ability to mandate it. We certainly couldn't enforce 3,000 businesses and all their actions, and they know their businesses better than we do, and they have to make their customers feel comfortable. And there's enough information out there. If your customers aren't comfortable, they're not coming in. So I encourage you to use all of the information and read the whole plan, like Trustee Dodge said. Also conduct an internal analysis, determine what other steps you can make to help employees be safe and customers be safe. Talk to your risk managers, your insurance companies, your industry groups. Look at the IDPH guidance. Look at all that to help you make your best decisions for your businesses. At the end of the day, it's up to us to give you the best information you can so that you can make your best individual decisions and take personal responsibilities. I think we've done that. But we've talked about whether or not you have to wear a mask or not wear a mask. The businesses ask you to wear a mask, you got to wear one to go in there. If they don't, then you don't. And if you don't want to go in, don't go in. The important thing tonight, though, to really remember is that instead of one person dictating guidance, we all had this. And this plan's been out since April 24th, so everyone could have commented on it that whole time. And there were minimal changes to it tonight, other than the executive summary, which was a bit dated. The plan is sound. It's based on expert guidance. It's based on research. It's based on dialogue with many health experts. Unlike the state, we don't have health experts in our employment, so they can't risk medical malpractice by putting their name out there, but they were involved. They did review the plan. They did think it was sound. And it's not that much different, actually, than the state plan. It really isn't. There's very few differences, but the differences are important. So now I'll go to the closing comments, which, yeah, I'm sorry it took so long to get there. You're all aware by now, thanks to Cindy and Bill, that Chief McCarthy's retirement after almost 27 years as our police chief. His leadership of the department has turned it into a model for the rest of the country to follow. I didn't meet the chief until after I was elected, as long as I've lived here. And the first thing he said to me was, do you remember, Chief? I heard you want me to resign. Let me know if that's what you'd like. I said, I don't even know you. That would be a hasty decision. How about we get to know one another first? That's simply the type of person that the chief is. He's straightforward. He tells it like it is, which I really appreciated. Since day one, I have valued Chief McCarthy's honesty and his leadership. His wise counsel over the last 3 years has been invaluable to me through some really unprecedented times. COVID, the recent riots in the area, the protests. As you know, I've spent some time in combat, and during that time I've served with and for many great leaders. Chief McCarthy certainly holds a place among those great leaders. And it's been my absolute honor to have him serve as the chief of police during my tenure. The village of Orland Park is lucky to have had him as their chief of police, and we should all thank the village board almost 27 years ago that hired him, and I think Kathy was on that board, maybe Jim as well. Most of all, Chief, I want to personally thank you for your outstanding service, particularly during the last 3 years, which has made my life a heck of a lot easier. Thank you very much. I also want to thank staff for all their hard work in putting on a great 4th of July weekend full of activities culminating in the fireworks display. They did a great job of ensuring that social distancing was maintained. Just an outstanding job, and there were thousands of people out there, and then people in other nearby parking lots also enjoying it as well. Also, as always, our residents were very respectful of others. I really want to thank our residents, because your efforts through all this COVID-19 stuff has made our lives a heck of a lot easier. I encourage you to consider this thoughtful respect for others as we continue our slow march back to normal. It is your continued efforts that will allow us to keep our businesses open more fully and host more events. I also want to congratulate the board for their efforts to pass the Back to Normal plan today and giving our businesses and residents some guidance. I think it's important. It's the way it's supposed to work. Legislative bodies going to work and doing their jobs. rather than one person dictatorially making all the decisions. So everybody, please have a great week. Please do as great in the next month as you've done in the last month, and we'll be able to see some of these events because we can always, if data shows otherwise, we can always change our position on it. So hopefully it continues to trend in the right direction. With that, I'll entertain a motion to go into executive session.
Mr. Chairman?
Trustee Fenton.
Move to go in executive session for A, approval of minutes, B, pending litigation against, affecting, or on behalf of the village when found by the board that such action is probable or imminent.
Second.
Second.
Call the roll.
Trustee Fenton.
Aye.
Trustee Katsinas.
Aye.
Trustee Dodge.
Aye.
Trustee Calandrello.
Aye.
Trustee Healy.
Aye.
Trustee Malani.
Aye.
Mayor Pico.
Aye.
And the executive session will be in here as in past. If I could also just introduce Alex Scharf. Alex is our new Economic Development Coordinator. This is his second day. First day. First day.
He's already got a plan.
First day.
Got a plan.
5 minutes out, right?
Right.
Can I go to the bathroom?
So welcome aboard, Alex. Thank you.
Welcome.